Louise Little. Louise Helen Langdon Norton was her maiden name, right? And she was from the island of Grenada. She was a seamstress and housekeeper or domestic for white people, right? As a lot of our sisters were back in that day. They were domestics, right? So they worked for white people in the home of white people, often raising white people's children. This is what you didn't know. She spoke English, Spanish, and some French patois. Yeah, so again, that's important to know when you think about Malcolm because there's this narrative that Malcolm went to jail and learned how to read. He went to jail and he had this reawakening or this awakening. I shouldn't say I should say this awakening. He had this awakening and then he gained all this knowledge. No, Malcolm was cultivated in knowledge and love. Malcolm's people were intelligent. Malcolm's people were activists. Malcolm was primed for what he did, right? He was primed for it. She never knew her Scottish father. And again, she was hospitalized because of her political philosophy. Now, what do we know about Malcolm's father, Earl Little? Well, from Butler, Georgia, son of former slaves, completed the third grade, trained as a carpenter and brick masonry, then went into the ministry as a Baptist preacher. So that makes sense. He was a carpenter, he was a masonry, he was in the carpentry and masonry. And that's how he was building houses. I'm going to read this to you, but he built a lot of the houses. So that was excellent. Back then, see, they understood trades. The goal wasn't to go to college, work for some corporate company or some Fortune 500 company, and then, all your intellectual prowess be extracted from your community. No, they had trades back then. They had things that they could use their hands, vocations where they could use their hands and build things. And oftentimes they built things for themselves. These were not super educated people who educated in the sense of mainstream education, higher learning, colleges. That wasn't even their focus. These were people who had third grade educations. These were people who were previously farm hands. These were people who were running from tyranny in the South. But they had enough sense to know that a skill and a trade could make them a lot of money and could make them a beautiful home and a beautiful life. And that's what Earl Little understood. That's what he realized. And he was a Baptist preacher. So that's no surprise. I'll give y'all a little Easter egg. I'll give y'all a little treat. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's father was also a minister, a Baptist preacher. So Malcolm has 10 siblings. So this is the order: Hilda, Wilfred, Filbert, Reginald, Wesley, Wybon, Robert, 3 from his father's previous marriages. Remember, I told you about that. The most notable being Ella. Yes,